All right. Well, welcome to Black Pill Radio. I'm your host, Mr. Tyler. I want you guys to introduce yourselves to everybody and what you do, and we'll start with Tiffany.
How did I know you were going to say me first?
You're at the top of my box, so I just...
My name is Tiffany Stewart. I am a certified holistic health coach. I am a content creator and owner and head content director of my lifestyle wellness blog for women called itsmeladyg.com. I also have my personal wellness practice, Living Healthy with Tiffany, and I also have a podcast myself, What in the Wellness with Tiffany. So I'm all things wellness on media.
Thank you. And we'll go to Okima next.
Hi, my name is Okima T. Moore. I am an actor, writer, producer, director. I work across the board, stage, screen, and film. And television, branded, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's me.
And next we'll go to Miss B.
Okay, so I'm Marita Bayati. I go by Marita B, and I am a freelance photographer. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I do a lot of event hosting and emceeing, things like that. And I'm an author as well, and I'm working on a second book. That's all. And I sing as well.
Yeah, I've been hearing your Instagram singing moments. So we know everybody's in quarantine, except for some people in the hood that I've been seeing outside, just gambling and playing basketball and doing all sorts of craziness. So how are you guys maintaining with the quarantine?
Okay, I'll start. I've been doing pretty well. It hasn't been so bad, except for, I've taken a huge lots of events, especially when I do photography, event work, when I do gigs with emceeing. All of those events have been canceled for a couple of weeks now. So it's definitely affected me in that way. But as far as like being quarantined in the house, I'm actually using this time to just get a lot of stuff done that I haven't been able to do, because I purchased a home in August and I still had things that were in the basement, in the garage, and now I'm able to tackle those. So that's just one of the things, that I'm doing.
So Okima, how is this quarantine working out for you?
Surviving quarantine. It's okay. It's a little hard as a single woman because I don't live with my parents. I don't have children. So it's just me. I have tenants, thankfully, thankfully. So that helps in terms of fiscally, because as a performer, most of the industry has been shut down. I was on tour with a musical that shut down. I was supposed to go to Africa to shoot something in 2 weeks. That's not happening because the borders are closed. So at this point, fortunately, I also am working as a post-production supervisor and producer on this docuseries, so I'm able to maintain income. But emotionally, it's up and down. I like solitude. When I'm not working, I'm usually home dolo because #single. But it's also weird because, this time last year I was seeing someone. So it's like, you think it would be nice to be sequestered with someone. I have enough space that we could be in our own space and still be in the same space. So it's feasible, but what you gonna do? So I've been working out every day. I do my workouts midday so I can take a break in between work because I'm working from home, running my team from home. I cook a lot, but I always cook, so that's not new. And I check on my friends a lot. Actually, I've been checking on my friends a lot. Just text messages, calls, video calls, just making sure everybody is emotionally okay, because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Thank you for sharing. And Tiffany, how have you been handling quarantine?
Well, I actually have a full-time job that I'm still working. So thankfully I have a full-time job, which is nothing to do with all the wellness stuff, because that's really my passion, the wellness. But I do love my full-time job, and I work for the government full-time. So I work from home normally. a lot. And so now it just went from being most of the time to all of the time. So I also have my kids in the house now. She's about to be a 2-year-old, and I have now my 10-year-old, and it's kind of crazy sometimes in the house. But but we've been pretty good. I mean, we're trying to keep up with my son's assignments. Those first couple of weeks rolling out with what they were doing, because they've been doing the distance learning for like the last 2 weeks. And and so other than that, we've just been figuring that whole thing out. And then I've just been like stuck creatively, because on top of all of this, I lost my grandmother the week before last. And so it was just like, it's just been crazy. And so creatively, I've been stuck up until about today. And so otherwise we've been all right, just, cooking more and going out for walks as families when we can, so. Okay, for the most part.
Thank you for joining us tonight, because I know you've been through a lot the last couple of days with the death in your family. So I appreciate you coming on.
Condolences.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I'm gonna move on to Marilyn. So Marilyn, you missed the introduction. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, and then tell us how you are dealing with and handling quarantine.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Moore. I'm a chef. I am a business owner. I own a business that runs a food education program. We teach nutrition and education in communities to seniors, to children in high school, and to people who run businesses themselves so that they can be better prepared to treat their clientele and have some kind of understanding of people who live a lot differently than them. So that's what I do. I talk a lot. I'm an activist. I'm a food justice activist. I love to run my mouth. I love to get in people's face and tell them how ignorant they are. I don't know. I'm a mother. I have 3 little kids. I actually left that out last. I feel proud of myself. That's usually like all I am most of the time. But I'm a mother of 3 daughters. They are 4, 6, and 8. Who do we appreciate? Yes, that is a very scary, at times uncomfortable age group, because they're all in this power. I'm in control stage. So that can lead us right into how I'm handling quarantine with them. So exciting. I mean, this is not exciting. It's up and down. Some days we have a blast and we chill. They go to school online, but they are homeschooled, and they go to a learning center that everyone there has mainly been homeschooled. So this is not really, but I haven't been home with them also. Like, I've had a babysitter or a tutor. It's a lot different for me, because I was working 60 hours a week outside this house in 3 boroughs. And now I'm in the house and I cannot get any work done. And I love to work, and that really bothers me. And I still have to smile at my kids. That's what I want to say. It's just a day by day thing, because some days the emotions are really high, really high. Everyone's in their feelings, including mom. And then other days we're like chill and comforting each other and happy we're all girls. I don't know. And I'm doing my best to figure out what to do next. And it's so much pressure from everywhere, as a mother, as a business owner, as keeping up with the game, keep it going. And I am also like nervous at the state of our government and the decisions they're making for us, and their extreme levels of control that they are exhibiting currently. But I won't get into that. So with all that, we have to still be a human and smile, because we're wellness professionals and we know the answers.
No, we don't.
That's right. So you're right about that. So part of the wellness is anxiety, right? A lot of people are dealing with anxiety of being quarantined, the fear of the unknown. How do you catch this virus? Or you're going to die from this virus? For me, I have not been outside in 10 days. And I did some heavy. I have not
at all.
No walk, no nothing.
Nothing in 10 days.
Wow.
I did enough food shopping to make sure I was good, and I haven't cooked this much in my life ever. And it's just me. So I want to go out tomorrow morning to get some more stuff to hold me down for the next 2 weeks. But I definitely feel a bit of anxiety going out the house because I've been looking out the window and in my neighborhood, everybody's outside. Everybody's hanging out. They playing basketball. It doesn't seem like people are taking this seriously. So in your areas of town, from going out or looking outside and dealing with anxiety, Tiffany, what have you noticed and experienced?
Well, I moved from Brooklyn 2 years ago, and now we live in New Jersey. So it's a lot more suburban, and because of that, it was weird for me at first, even, but now I guess I'm kind of used to it, where everybody is kind of separated anyway. And so I've gone out to the store, or we go out for walks and things, because it's just I can't not go outside. Like it's just it because it's so crucial to my mental state. Like we may just go outside and walk around the block, or walk down different streets, and I see that some people are keeping their distance. I've gone, because I'm the mom, I have to go to the store to get the things that we may need. And so I have gone to Target, and I've gone to different grocery stores around here. And I've seen people over here, I must say, I guess the people out here in Jersey, they somewhat, either they're afraid of each other, or they taken this whole thing like to the extreme, because they're doing all the things, you know what I mean? Like to the point where it doesn't make any sense. But like I've seen couples walking down the street with holding hands with gloves and face masks on, and there's no one around them for like blocks. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like y'all live together, obviously. And so people are just like I just like people are doing irrational things, either one extreme or the other. And so I get that there's anxiety around it. I definitely do. But you can kind of, just because people have gloves on and things, that doesn't, like, if you're still touching something that might have something on it, and then you're putting that gloved hand in your pocket, like you're then touching the other things that are in your pocket. So it's like, I think this whole thing, you're right, anxiety and fear has taken over, and it's made people do things that just doesn't make sense all the time. But over here, they've been, again, like, I think doing all the things, but maybe all the things wrong too. So it's just, it's no better.
Marita, what is it like in Connecticut? How are they holding it down up there?
Well, so I live in a suburban neighborhood too. I do see kids though, riding bikes, and like older couples, they're, walking down the street, because usually during the daytime it's like bright and sunny. So I have my window, the curtains wide open. I just like to watch people kind of go by, and you see different people. But me, I haven't gone out to the front, but like I have a backyard with a deck. So usually I'm just outside on the back deck doing virtual training sessions, like with my trainer, like workouts and stuff. So I do have to go to the grocery store tomorrow, and I'm just going to just be as careful as I can be. I have hand sanitizer. If I touch something, I'm like, okay, I get back in the car, put my sanitizer on. I am not one of those people that, like, yes, I think it's serious and everything, but I feel like if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. I will take some precautions and be distant from others. I don't let my son go outside of the house, as far as like going to the store with me and things like that. So he's in his room playing video games. We'll, be in the house watching movies together. But other than that, like, I'm just being as careful as I can be. But I also have company coming here tomorrow that's going to be here for 5 days. And I told them when they walk foot in this house, I will spray them down with Lysol and all their things.
Well, I think your son's going to be good. I mean, video games and food, I don't think he needs much.
That's what I have to re-up on food tomorrow. So
I'm in a city with Maryland and Okemah, so I know we're experiencing something way different. Okemah, what is it like over there in Brooklyn?
So I live in Bed-Stuy. I am from the old Bed-Stuy, but I still reside in what is now the new Bed-Stuy. It's 50-50. I see a lot of people, even people in the hood, because I mean, it's a neighborhood now, but the root word is still hood. So it's still kind of the hood a little bit. I see people with masks. I see people with gloves. I think that gloves are a false sense of protection for a lot of people because they're not mindful that if you go into, like for me, I go out maybe every other day, whether it's to walk to the grocery store or just walk around the block. Just because me as a creative, like if I don't get some kind of air every few days, I feel weird. But I see people that are falsely protecting themselves with these gloves because like if I go to the grocery store, I don't put my gloves on till I go in the grocery store. And then when I'm getting ready to get my phone and or my money, I take my gloves off to go into my pockets. And then I ditch the gloves and put on a fresh pair to take it home. Like I'm trying to be mindful like that so that I'm not like touching, because gloves can be a false sense of security, in my opinion, for some people that are not used to this, consistent sanitization. Anxiety wise, it was really high for me initially. My parents did a drive-by the other day. We all live in the neighborhood, but my parents are a little older. They still work. So, and where they work, my mom thought she was exposed the other day. So they tested her. She tested negative, thank God. So I'm not touching, like they literally did a drive-by. My mom tossed some paper towels, toilet paper, and stuff like that out the window of the truck. In front of the car, they waved. But like I came in the house, put everything in, sprayed it down, put it away, and then I started to cry because I didn't realize how much it bothered me that I couldn't hug my dad and have my daddy tell me it's gonna be okay. And I couldn't kiss my mom, especially when I was so scared when she thought she was exposed. Like, and then literally both my sisters and my brother and my cousin are all RNs. So they're on the front lines every single day. And so I check in with them, and I'm older by no less than 11 years and at the most 20 years. So those are my kids. You know what I mean? Those are literally like my children. So I check on them all the time. I'm always checking with them. So my anxiety is more for them than me. When I get super anxious, I'll meditate or I'll grab a crystal and just kind of be still, or I'll write. I try to battle it that way, but I'm at my best when I'm helping or doing for other people. So when I'm feeling really funky, I will check in on my friends to see how they're doing. Because providing comfort for others is one of my love languages. Like, but one of my main love languages is touch, and I don't have that. And so it's really, really hard for me in that way, that I can't physically communicate with anyone just to hold someone's hand or get a hug, or like that withdrawal for me is really, really big. So at 40, going on 42, I definitely sleep with a stuffed animal. Judge your mama.
Wow. Very nice. And we have another Brooklynite in the house, Miss Marilyn. What's it like in your part of town?
It is very hectic where I live, because I live in the cusp of Prospect, Lefferts Garden, and Crown Heights. So I live on a block where from about a 6-block radius, everything is owned by Hasidic Jewish people and their families. And the good part is I live right next to a supermarket that they own, and it has the best stuff in the neighborhood. And you know, that's one area I'm good at. So they buy local, probably farmers that are from their community. And it is exciting to see community living around this community. It makes me very excited because they're not showing nervousness. They're acting real stupid a lot of times, acting like extra in the supermarket, over shopping, but it's not really over shopping. Let me take that back, because they got like 7 kids per household, 6 kids per household, and they come in with all these kids. So you're like going into the supermarket and you're like, I'm waving, but I don't want to leave my neighborhood, and go far, because it's literally 2 blocks away. So I'm grateful for that. And I walk in, I'm like, mad. All I'm thinking about is kids. Adults, you're annoying, and I could kind of block, bob, and weave, but them kids. A big supermarket filled with kids who are just like free. on a regular day, it's the dopest supermarket around because my kids are free kids too, but they're brown. So people don't like free brown kids. They only like free other race kids. So when my kids start pulling things off the shelf, they're like, "You're kids." But they only say it once because then they catch on. But that was scary because a lot of them had their children out. And I was just like, yo, your kids need to be in the house. There's enough, let me shut up. People could watch each other. We can figure this out. Like, let's not contaminate. They had so many new cases. You can't, the anxiety is when you start listening to the news. I'm like, all these new cases in the Hasidic Jewish community, like 1,000 cases came from Friday to Sunday. And I'm like, you know what I mean? I live amongst this community. So I'm like, yo, I got to stay in the house. And I went shopping and bought all my essentials. But thank goodness that I do know how to store vegetables. I know how to prep food. Everyone who lives in my building don't know how to do that. And you know what I mean? So they're living under this pressure also because they're still outside and they're still excited. But I'm trying to be optimistic about everything because I'm trying to keep social distance. They're not, and I have to like check myself and check them. And it's annoying. So I made sure I stocked up so I could stay in the house. The other anxiety is that my kids don't want to be in the house. They're children. Mm-hmm. They're used to a schedule that we had that was a very tight schedule. And they're used to leaving, going to the learning center, hanging out with their friend. Now they're talking to them online, but they be online for 6 hours of people and I'm weird in a way where I maybe it's not weird. Maybe you feel the same way. It's just energy is very real to me and I'm high energy. I'm in these streets helping the world. But when I walk in this door, my house is very quiet. It is usually screen free. They use screens at my mother's house. So now we had to bring tablets in my house. All this had to change. And that's weird for me because my house is noisy now. And so I can't concentrate on my work the way I used to when I worked from home because I can't stop them from going online, you know?
I was going into that next question about the children because I'm by myself. I know Akima mentioned that she's by herself, but you guys are stuck in the house with kids. Thank God I'm not, because that would have been a problem.
Oh my goodness!
So how to set them on a roof? So how are you guys doing? We'll start with Tiffany. How are you holding it down with your children?
Ooh, no, it's been pretty all right. I definitely. I've had experience, like I mentioned, of me working from home previously with my kids to some degree, not to this degree. I mean, other than maybe in the summertime, but still we would have other things that we're going to do, but just being in the house for the most part. And then my son having his whole regimen of what he's supposed to do. I mean, they haven't moved into the, like the actual speaking to the teacher learning yet. It's just, he's been having like a whole day of homework. That's what he calls it. And so that has caused even anxiety for him, which is a lot for us, cause as parents, we have our own things that we going through and we have our anxieties that we have over situations, but I'm very mindful of how my kids are dealing with something because they have their own, feelings about changes and things that go on that we as adults, we may think, you'll get used to it or something like that. But for them, their feelings are valid. And so like he's expressed that, this change was like a lot for him. You know what I mean? A lot for him to have to go from being in school and you get a break and all this other stuff. And, even though I may think about like, y'all going through all this food so quick, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I be thinking about. Like, that's what I'm worried about. But then I know that he needs like, I want him to feel as comfortable as possible. I want my 2-year-old to feel as comfortable as possible. But it's a lot, like trying to keep them apart in order for him to complete his work enough. So it's a lot on us. But we've been rolling with the punches for the most part. But I do know that my personal anxiety has been up lately. But we just rolling with the punches for the most part. I try not to think about it and just do for the most, and then just keep going.
And Marita, I assume your son is a teenager, so you might be dealing with a different perspective.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, he's 14, but I can agree with what she just said about the food. I'm like, oh my gosh, man. If this little boy don't stop eating all my food.
I know.
And I thought I got enough. I thought I got enough food, to last like 2 weeks. The next thing I know, I'm like, I got to go to the grocery store again. You ate all that? He's like, what, Mom? Like, he will be sitting there. So I'll make breakfast. I'll try to have lunch, and then he eats snacks in between. And then by dinner, before I even make dinner, he's already ate like frozen pizza, some beef patties, and some other stuff. And then he's still asking me, when am I going to cook? And I'm like, dang, like we're not going to have nothing left, like nothing. And me, I eat like bare minimum. Like I might snack on some things, but he'll be in his room playing video games. I have to make him set aside time for his homework. He loves this. He thinks this is just a free vacation, like right now. He's like, I don't care. Like school is school, whatever. Yeah. I don't miss nobody. I don't miss my teachers. He's like completely opposite. Like he just
has he done online schooling with his teachers? Like has he seen them online?
He has not seen them online, but they have something like I don't know, it's the Google Classroom. They upload their assignments and things through there, but they don't actually see them. A couple of teachers has called me, just to make sure he's doing good and like, oh, tell him don't forget to do this assignment this week or whatever. So I have to just stay on top of him as far as like getting his schoolwork done. And once I make him put down the game, he's good. And then, I have to set aside time for us to have our little Netflix and chill time, to just so we can spend more time together. And also I make him eat at the dinner table with me when we're having dinner. Not so much like lunch and stuff, but definitely dinner time. I make a point to pull him away and say, you cannot sit on the games all day long, because he's also on those games too, with his friends from school. So they're all in like this group chat, or they're on like three-way. I don't know how they do it, but it could be like 10 of them on the phone at the same time. So he's not missing being at school, and this is not bothering him otherwise.
So Tiffany, your son, has he seen his teachers online yet, or is it like Google Classroom work?
They haven't started that out here yet. They're starting it on Monday, where they're gonna start to see the teachers. Us parents were all in the chat and sent an email saying like, why haven't you moved to this new phase, as they call it, or whatever. But no, they haven't seen the teachers yet, but they're planning on doing it on Monday.
So Miss Marilyn, what's it like for your kids? Like how are they? I've seen your videos. I know they dancing in the house. Well, what else is going on?
It's challenging. My kids are at age groups where they all need a lot from me. You know what I mean? So there's 4-year-old who, and we're not going to get into the 4-year-old, the 6-year-old and the 8-year-old. My 8-year-old is a little bothered because she is very routine oriented and she likes things to be scheduled. And this is not a scheduled life at the moment. And even though she was homeschooled for a whole year, and so she came with me to work and she only saw tutor twice a week, it's still very different because she's very outgoing like me. She wants to leave the house every day. And we can't. We went and took a walk, but like I said, the community I live in, it's a lot of people outside. And I'm not trying to talk about someone's race or culture, but I need to protect my children. So it's really challenging. We opened the window and look out at the fire escape. I sat and held her out there. Well, we live on the 5th floor, so it's not much I can do that's safe. Yeah, so it's challenging. I don't want to walk through the hallways. It's just not a space to do it. And my middle daughter, she loves being home. She is so excited because she never wants to go outside anyway. So she's like, oh, this is the best. But keeping her busy, she goes to school online. But now that she's home, like when she's in school, she has someone helping her. And I don't have the time as much. I had to make the time. So I have so many emails. I know it's not about me, it's about the kids. But I have so many emails. There's so much work that I cannot do, because I don't know how people are doing it, but trying to do schoolwork with Grace part of the day, helping Randy with propositions, and then keeping the 4-year-old. Do you know what a 4-year-old with no structure in an apartment can do? Do you know what that is like? And especially when their name is Iris and they're a Capricorn. I don't know, she is in control of her life, and nothing has nothing to do with us. And it is very challenging because she's my baby and she's getting on my nerves, and I feel like I have to discipline them. I feel like I have to say stop. I have to say calm down. Don't stomp on people's head. And that's annoying, yo. You just have to constantly bother them because they need to freaking run around. But my neighbor will come and knock on my door for real. He has. And what we supposed to do in here? Locked in the apartment like tippy toe for 30 days? Like,
I'd be like, no. It's Corona quarantine and I got kids. Leave me alone.
Thank you, Brooklyn. Thank you. We won't talk about what the last visit was, but we set a schedule on when we can run through the house and then when it stops. But I feel bad for them because I'm a free spirited parent, and I'm like, yo, forget this mess. We need to do whatever we want to do, and that's what I declared today. That from today on, I sent an email to the tutoring center that they go to, and I'm like, we are taking a pause. I know online school is important, but we're taking a pause until we reset and get a structure in the house that works for all of us, because we're a team and we have to stay in this house together. And I don't want my daughters and I to have like this conflict because, oh, you're in my way and I'm in your way. No, we have to figure out how to do this together. And I know that they're not teenagers, but trust me, at that age, they do get it, but they're not getting it easily. But Iris has gone 3 days officially and then I'm done. 3 days, y'all, with no tantrum. We could tell her no. I tell her no, and she actually goes, okay, mommy. Oh, child.
Congratulations to you and Iris.
Thank you. You don't know. Y'all don't know Iris.
So I wanted to move on to how we take care of ourselves financially, spiritually, emotionally, our health. You can jump and tackle any one of those areas, but for Okemah, how are you holding things down financially, emotionally, spiritually, dealing with your health?
So I'm a fairly healthy person. I'm not a wellness guru or anything like these lovely ladies. I'm an everyday, regular, schmegular. I take my vitamins kind of girl. I work out, I take my vitamins. I eat junk when I feel like it, but I make sure that if I know I'm not working out that day, my diet reflects that. And if I'm going to work out, I don't binge, but I don't deprive myself either. It's been a little harder because there's more snacks in the house, because there's more reserve in the house because of the situation. I usually don't keep things in the house. And I know that I'm an emotional eater. So I have to be very mindful. I have a condition where it sounds really wild, but if I'm really stressed and I know I have snacks upstairs, because I have a duplex, I have a brownstone, so I'm on the 2 bottom floors. If I know I have snacks upstairs, I will wake up out my sleep, but not really be awake, and get them, eat them, not realize I've done it, wake up in the morning, and I'm like, what? And it's really random, but it only happens when I'm at peak stress levels. When I'm fine, I can have snacks, because I have a bar cart in my living room. So I keep liquor, snacks, all that stuff on the bar cart so that I don't have to go up and down the stairs when I want things. So I know when my stress levels peak, because my edges get thin, because my hair is my stress spot physically. And I sleep snack, if that is, I don't know what it's called, but I've been doing it since I was a child. It was a defense mechanism as a child, and I've carried it into my adult. So my therapist and I talk about it all the time. She knows that it's detrimental if I don't pay attention to it, but she does laugh at me all the time. So I just keep snacks downstairs because I know that I'm a little stressed about this whole situation. But financially, like I said, fortunately, as an actress, as an entertainer, my industry is shut down for the most part, but I'm presently post supervisor on this doc for American Masters in PBS called Unladylike. We drop a new woman that we feature, every Wednesday. So I still have employment till like August, which is thankful. And then I'm just saving, I pay my tithes. I then pay tithes to myself so that I have something stashed. But I also do a scholarship twice a year through my production company for other creatives. I didn't do it in December So what I've been doing now is just doing very small grocery stipends to different creatives that I know have no income, have no kind of bread coming in, just making sure that like, so once a week, I'll pick 1 or 2 people and just send them some grocery money. And then I sponsored like 4 different actors for some online classes just so they can feel like they continue to themselves in the mix. So I feel like my blessings come from blessing other people. Like I said, when I'm super stressed, the way that I get out of that is helping other people. So I'm very thankful to be in a fiscal situation where I'm great. You know, I won't say great, but I'm good. And can share a little bit of that with other creatives, because a lot of them don't have, you know, a lot of them, like I do Broadway and I do theater, and all my Broadway friends are stuck because we're shut down. Our tour got canceled, so some of my castmates, like it's crazy. Like from the behind the scenes the behind the camera people and the in front of the camera people, they're all stuck. And if they didn't have, you know, decent income coming in, or if they were working on non-union shows that pay pennies just because they want to do what they want to do and chase their dreams, they're now being penalized because they don't have a fallback. And it's like, you can't go wait. If your fallback was waiting tables, restaurant industry
right.
down. If your fallback was, you know, babysitting, anybody let anybody in their house. Like, so it's like all of our industry is shut down, but what people aren't realizing is our supplemental stuff for the people in our industry is shut down too. So they're totally without income at all, period. And it's really scary. It's really scary. So I'm trying to help as much as I can without putting myself in a hole. And that's kind of my spiritual resolve. You know, I pray. When I say I'm going to pray for you, I'm one of those people that just pray on the spot. So I don't lie. Or I have a literal continual prayer list. I have a book, and I will write a new name. Every time I say I'm going to add that person to my list, I literally actually add them to my list. And so I go through that list daily to just make sure that I throw a little something up there for whoever is listening to try and help. So for me, it's just trying to disperse myself as much as possible and still take care of me.
And that's good advice what you're talking about, because people need to have that nest egg, some sort of savings if they can, because, you know, some people just can't save. That's all they have and they got to spend it. But for those who do have a little bit of change, you definitely save it up, because in times like this, you're going to need it, you know, and that's
just
important.
From a fiscal standpoint too, if, you know, you have ACHs or automatic deposits that are being taken out of your account, like your Netflix, your blah, blah, like cut those off if you know that you don't have income coming in, because you're not thinking about it, but that $15 could get you food for a couple of days, or grocery, you know, at least some chicken and some veggies or something. So making sure that you pay attention to your ACHs, shutting them off, reaching out to your debtors, like your credit card company, or if you have a car, your car, because a lot of these companies right now are doing it so that you can defer payments till after the quarantine. And they're not, a lot of them are, you know, not including interest, and they're just tacking it on to the end of whatever your payment situation is. So just being very mindful of what your incoming debts are, and trying to kind of quash that so your credit doesn't go in the toilet because your income is not, you know, there. Like fortunately, my tenants all are still able to work from home, so I'm able to get that rent in. But I know a lot of mortgage companies are letting you defer and that kind of thing. So just trying to figure out what your angles are to help yourself, you know, have less output, given that there's nothing or very little coming in.
You know, Trump says he got us, and we sending some checks.
Yeah, no. Andrew Cuomo is my is my president. Fuck Trump.
So let me move on to Mr. James, who just joined us. James, introduce yourself and briefly tell everybody what you do.
First and foremost, I'm sorry for the delay. I was in traffic. I'm the president and founder of All Hearts Healing Prison Minds out in the Bronx, Jersey City, and Harlem. I basically help out with the kids that's low risk and high risk. And I'm a nonprofit organization. So my biggest thing right now is, you know, not being out there to help these kids out. You know, and the other day we was feeding everybody over there by the state building on 125th. You know, it came out. It was a big showing. It was real good. But this coronavirus a whole lot of things. You know, man, they put us on hold. And I was listening to the sister Okima talking, and I feel you on that. A lot of us just got caught off guard. And I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking as far as the black people, because, you know, they don't know how to save up. You know what I mean? They living from check to check, the majority of us, right? And it's sad, man, because we got to start teaching them how to, you know, just financial literacy is very, very important. You know what I mean? And this is what we're losing out on in that field. You know, a lot of our kids, I try to teach them that, you know, the parents as well. And, you know, when we start talking about credit cards and we talking about bank accounts, they are lost in the sauce, man. So this right here should be an eye-awakener for a lot of us, a lot of black and brown individuals in the community. You know what I'm saying? And that's real. I'm sorry I'm late again. I apologize to Tiffany, my man Black Pill Radio. You know what it is. I've been hanging with you for a minute. Who's this? Chef Marilyn. And, I don't want to say nobody's name wrong. Veritat.
Oh, Marita B.
Right, Marita B. How y'all doing? Peace.
Good.
So,
All right.
I'm a nonprofit founder and president out here in the Bronx, and I work with low risk and high risk individuals, young ladies and young men, and I try to keep them from going to prison. I also target gang members. You know, I try to teach them the narrative around what a street organization should be doing opposed to what they are doing. So that's my job description.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing that. Tiffany, I want to come back to you in terms of financials, right? We're dealing with financials and or emotional. You know, how do you tie both of those together? Because if your finances are low, emotionally, spiritually, you might really be suffering. Your family, your children might be suffering. So what is your household doing financially to deal with this whole quarantine?
Oh, well, as I mentioned before, I do have a full-time job that I've been at for quite some time. That is not, I work for the government and I usually don't like to bring that up because that, while it is something I do love doing and having, you know, as my main source of income for the most part, but it's not like where my heart and my passion is because of a lot of the constrictions that I have from Congress. But in general, I've been cooking more than we've been, you know, than before, than ever, as you said, Tyler, in which even for me, somebody who has in my wellness practice and wellness business, I like create recipes for other brands and my brain now is like fried. I don't even know what to make anymore. Like it's just, it's just bad. So, but in general, I have found still that my anxiety is really high now, especially like, as I mentioned, I have a 2-year-old. And so I'm very familiar with anxiety problems, especially like postpartum depression and things like that. And so I have found myself feeling that same feeling as I do often after pregnancy. Like I catch myself and I'm like, what is this feeling? I know this feels familiar. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's that high anxiety thing. So there's that. I've been trying to work with that myself. Also, I've been trying to just share information in general, like for people to just do the best that you can in general for things. People have been asking me for like, what are some tips that they should do for their immune health and things like that. And it's like, the first thing I've been telling everybody is just like how I've been doing is just be very, very aware of your own personal stress levels, because not only just because, okay, anxiety or whatever, but because when you're literally stressed like that, that will decrease your immune health, which will make you susceptible to being sick if you're in a, you know, outside and exposed. So people don't really think about that. So I'm very mindful of my stress levels all the time, because I know even recently, like I mentioned before, with all this going on, the kids in the house, I'm cooking more, we're trying to not touch all the things. And then, you know, when my grandmother passed, I got a sinus infection like I haven't had in almost a decade. And so it was just like, so that's the way that your body works. So I would just really, really tell people to be as mindful as they can about their personal stress levels. Do things that you can do in the house. I'm really huge on finding things like anybody, and the the tips that I share have nothing to do with, like, most people can do them. Find something that's funny for yourself to watch. You know, like, I'm big on watching these stupid little videos on TikTok and these things right now, because it makes me laugh. And it's not just because it's funny, but I know science wise, your stress levels go down and your cortisol levels go down when you are laughing. So do that and try not to be as stressed as you can, because you don't want to get sick if you can avoid it.
So I got 2 more points before we wrap it up, and I'm going to come to Mieta. Rita, what is it like dealing with the coronavirus, right? That's 1. 2, do you know anyone who's been infected? And I don't mean like movie stars and people like that, but, you know, do you know anybody personally, anybody you work with, a family member or something like that? And you don't have to share if you don't want to, but if you know anyone who's been infected, what has that felt like for you?
So for me, actually my son's father, he lives in the Bronx and he goes to church in the Bronx. And there's been 3 people that just passed away this past week in his church that actually had it. And they've passed on, and now his pastor is sick with it. And that's because they had a pastor's anniversary maybe 3 weeks ago. It was, yeah, I think it might have been 3 weeks ago. And they passed kind of quickly too. And I think it was still what they said they could kind of have gatherings, I think, of like 50 and less people. Mm-hmm. It wasn't as strict. So they had the pastor's anniversary, and he called me and he was just like, you wouldn't believe it. And they were really close to him too. So, and it was just really sad, because I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't think anybody that was that close, you know, to me. And even though I didn't know them personally, but again, that's my son's father. He's been going to that church for years. So he always talks about these people. So it was just kind of scary and sad to hear that happened. And he was actually, my son's father was at the pastor's anniversary, but he said he was one of the few people who didn't actually go up to the pastor that day and like hug him and shake his hand, because so many other people were. And I'm just like, okay, so, you know, is it a potential that he could still have gotten it? Because maybe he shook hands and hugged somebody else that had it. Did he shake the hands of the people that passed away? And plus they were older too. So, and he said they also had other health problems at the same time, which just made it worse for them. So I know they said if your immune system isn't as strong, then you're more than likely to suffer and actually die from it. So again, that's why I just try to stay as healthy as possible and take my vitamins. I've been doing my black seed oil and everything natural. I just try to stock up on, because yeah, that really shook me to know somebody that close passed away.
And Marilyn, I know you talked about people in your community that have been dealing with the virus. Do you know anybody personally that has caught the virus that is close to you?
No, I do not. I don't know anyone, and I don't even know, except for the assemblyman who was tested positive. He's alive. He's probably heard of it in Brooklyn. No, I can't remember his name, but that's bad.
Don't say his name now.
That felt the closest, huh? Yeah. So that was the closest, because he's always everywhere and at meetings and events, and I'm at a lot of events where assembly and local senators are at. So I was nervous, as you hear people coming out that they have been affected, and it just seems like some kind of big plague, and it's scary because everyone's scared of people and like, are you sick? And you know, being 41, I remember it feels a lot like that in HIV and AIDS. And the energy that the family we had when we were kids, like if somebody was in a hospital, like we couldn't go to the hospitals because we were scared of getting it. And it feels similar. My mom and I were having this conversation. She's very emotional because she lost a lot of her friends to AIDS during that time, people she knew in the community. And so she's just in hopes, like, I don't want to hear about nobody dying. I don't want nobody dying. I need to stay your behinds in the house. And because I see her anxiety being triggered because it reminds her of the era of crack and people getting AIDS and how everybody was scared to touch people or drink behind everybody. And, you know, the shadiness, as she explains it, like, it's shady. I'm going to just stay in the house. I don't want no one to ask me if I'm coughing, you know. I love to hear different perspectives, how a lot of people are dealing with this, because this can really trigger a lot of people's mental health.
Okima, do you know anybody who's suffering, or?
I know 5 people that have it, which is crazy to me. Some of them are creatives, and they're personal friends. Not even, there are 2 that are friends of friends, and then 3 are personal friends. 2 of which are in the hospital, and I'm just hopeful. And all of them are under 50, with the exception of 1. So that whole it's just older people is bullshit. The principal that passed away, I did not know her personally, but I have spoken at the school near hers. So it's kind of wild. And then the chef that died, I produce a lot of food television for Food Network. That particular chef is a chef that I've come across in my working on several food shows. So that hit a very close chef friend of mine, because his dad is also from Mumbai and knows that chef very well. So it's a lot of very small degrees of separation for me, which makes me very anxious sometimes. But I've been trying to just focus on the other side of this, and like what I want to bring to the other side of this. Like, prayerfully, I see the other side of this, because I'm staying my ass in the house for the most part. And if I'm outside, my good N95 mask is absolutely on my face. But I feel like on the other side of this, I need to come out of this with a surety for myself, for my finances, for my love life, for my, for my home, for my mentality, for my career. This is so funky. And I agree with Chef Marilyn. Like, I remember the AIDS epidemic and how it was like said it was this virus and it was that, and they didn't have a lot of the intel, because this is, and so I think that my anxiety is up from knowing people personally and checking on people personally that have it, the several that aren't doing very well, that I'm just like, okay, Lord, you have spared me thus far. So what am I supposed to learn from this, take on the other side of it to be better for me, for my community specifically, and for everybody else? So I think that's how I kind of quash some of my angst is just thinking about what I can be doing to be better on the other side of it.
So we're going to wrap this up with a top 5. So each of you are going to give me something, and then I'm going to post that on Instagram. So if there's one thing that each of you can give me that people can do tomorrow, today, just for their health, for their wellness, for their sanity, what would you suggest they do? And I'll start with Tiffany.
Oh, I knew he was going to say me. I've said it. I've said to try to control your stress levels if you can. Like, if you can. I know there's a lot going on, but as I mentioned, all science has shown, and I could provide it if you need, but science has shown that the way that stress can degrade your immune system, it's something that it's very serious. So I would say that try if you can.
And James, what is something that you would tell folks to try to do in these times?
I'm a big fan of working out. So if they haven't been working out, it's very good to keep your physical in shape, because they said that's how this virus is really hitting people, because their immune system is low, and their physical is not in physical form. So if you haven't been working out, please, man, take the time out to work out, drink a lot of water and orange juice. That's what I do on a regular. So that's what I would leave out saying to them.
Ms. B, what is something that you would say to the folks that they need to take heed to?
This may not sound conventional at all, but I just say, stay positive and prayed up, because we can't go on living our lives in fear no matter what happens. This is something that's completely out of our control. Yes, we can take all the necessary precautions, but at the same time, people are so fearful. But I see it like this. If it's your time to go, it's your time to go. But trust God in all that you do if you're a person of faith. I always live by the scripture, for the Lord has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of sound mind. Just pray for your kids, pray for protection and peace every day, and go about your life. So that's it.
And Okima, what would you add to this list?
Self-care. Do something for yourself that you don't normally have the time to do, because now you got the time to do it. Whether it is a bubble bath, put the kids outside of the bathroom, lock the door. Well, not lock the door, like you want to make sure they're safe and stuff. But like, you can tell I don't have no children, right? But like self-care things, whether it's having a cocktail at the end of your day when you log off of work or whatever, whether it's journaling, whether it's reading that book that you never got time to do, or listening Audible, or even just stretching because you haven't had time to work out, but you're home now. So like just do something for yourself that you don't normally have your time to do, because you would be surprised how that will kind of ease your spirit a little bit. And a caveat to that is find one person to forgive, especially if that person we carry a lot of self stuff, and in all this anxiety, self-guilt and weighing that stuff down on your spirit can also be detrimental to your body's ability to regenerate and to heal and to be okay, and for your immune system to be at top peak performance. So like start thinking about those things that you still continue to blame yourself for, that you can let go. Because I think that will really help you to put into perspective this thing we have called life and how super short and precious it really, really is.
Wonderful advice. And Marilyn, you're gonna round it out. What you got for us?
So I would say eat as raw as possible. In this time, eat a lot of raw foods. We're not working out all day in the apartment. We're sitting a lot more than we usually are, and we're not getting direct sunlight, so you really need to make sure you're getting a lot of those micronutrients from the soil that is transferred to those stems, and then we lose them when we cook. So I think incorporating herbs during snacking time, or alfalfa sprouts, it's not really as extreme as we think. We can switch that snack really quick when you locked in the house and you don't have no choice. It's a great time to try new things and to try to buy stuff that usually might go bad because you're busy working and won't really have any time to cook it, So I think it's a good time for that. So I put together eating well and affirmations, and we even do them at the table together, because eating together is very important to me also, especially being a single parent. It is very challenging. So maintaining that bond, eating well and maintaining that bond. And we say affirmations, my mind is married to my body. And each of my daughters will be like, I like Gracie because, and they'll make jokes like, well, okay, I'll just say, it's funny, but each of us say something that we like about the next person. And it helps, because you could really lose your mind up in here.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys coming on tonight. I'm going to have the audio posted tomorrow, and then I will tag everybody in that audio post so everybody can network and get in touch with everybody if you need to. Thank you again, and I will talk to you soon. Everybody be well.